morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, and today is a particularly good morning, or afternoon, evening, night, whatever, because we just hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, yay! I'll be honest with you, a few years ago, this did not seem possible. Like, I'm not trying to do that thing where I'm like, no, I genuinely didn't think it was possible. Several years ago, I was dropping my friend home, and we were talking about the YouTube, and she was all like, hey, so, how far is YouTube going to take you? And I went, realistically, about 4,000 subscribers. That seemed like a real genuine goal. Get and keep 4,000 subscribers. Go from there. Job's a good one. That's a good number. That's something I can be proud of. At Nationals 2014, the last Nationals I played, I was chatting with a bunch of mates and the lovely Dan TDM. Yeah, he did a bit better than me, didn't he? But we chatted away before Nationals started, about when you actually get your YouTube plaques, and he told us the first plaque came at 100,000 subscribers, and we all had a nice little chuckle about how hilariously far away I was, because for years, right, the idea of 100,000 subscribers was just not realistic. It wasn't happening. That was not something I was ever going to achieve. And I'm so happy and so delighted, and I'm so keen to say thank you to all you lovely people that I'm actually doing the kind of video I don't generally do. Usually, right, you can have my face in a little box in the corner out the way. I'm doing like a proper talking to camera video. I don't do these very often. Maybe when I do casting for Pokemon, which I know may or may never happen again, but I've done it in the past. I'll be here with somebody, often Joe, next to me for like couple of minutes maybe, and then we'll go to the games. These are not the regular kind of videos. But in all honesty, I just wanted to say thank you. Because if you're watching this video, then you're either subscribed, so you're one of those people, or you at least have taken an interest in the channel, found the channel, watched something, and that means that you're a part of this, and you're part of the reason I get to be so happy and feel so good about myself right now. And that means you're awesome, and I thank you very much indeed. Later down the line, I'm going to do a proper video telling the full story of exactly kind of what I did and how I got here. But I've over the past few years, to get to this stage where this is my job and I've hit this mark, I had to do some proper uncomfortable things. Like back in 2015, that was when I first started casting for Pokemon. And they got in touch and they were like, hey, do you want to come do casting? And I was like, yeah. Can I just do it on the weekend? And they were like, no, you cannot turn up on Saturday morning and just walk into the production. You can't get there at 9 o'clock for a 9 o'clock cast. That's not how anything works. And anyone who's done any casting or anything similar will know there's pre-production. And you actually need to know what you're doing. You cannot rock up at 9 o'clock for a 9 o'clock cast. That would be ridiculous. So I went back to my job. I was working at the time. I had a proper good job. I was head of business and law at a really good school. I had like a proper grown-up job. And I went to the principal of this proper, like, fancy, good, high-achieving school. And I was like, hey, can I randomly have some days off during the week and not come in and teach the students so I can go and cast Pokemon tournaments? And you can imagine what they said, right? And I don't blame them for this, obviously. They were like, no, we are not giving one of our teachers random days off in the middle of term time to go and commentate Pokemon tournaments for somebody else. That's a little bit ridiculous. And they were right, incidentally. So I quit. And I had a good job that was fairly well paid. I was doing very well. I was making a name for myself. I was one of those people. I was working up the ladder. And then I quit my job and literally moved back to Cornwall, which worked out nicely because I married my wife and we had a couple of children and things are very good. Literally one of the first things I did when I moved back to Cornwall for good was I moved to my wife's house, not to my parents' house, and I proposed. And then we got married and life was good. But I didn't have a job at that point. First time in my life I'd ever be unemployed. I just kind of quit my job and moved to Cornwall because I wanted to do the casting. And I've quit multiple other jobs because every job I've had since then, there came a point where I was like, hey, can I have some time off to go and do casting and such? And they were like, no, you're a teacher, grow up. But I didn't want to. There was one job where I actually had two managers, and the manager that hired me actually told me I could have time off during term time. So I took the job. And the other manager didn't like that. She didn't like me very much because well, they call me crazy. I expected them to do what they said they would in the interview. And then I ended up quitting when they changed my contract and threatened me with redundancy. Joke's on them. I quit. Yeah. There's also been several job interviews where I got to the end of the interview and I was like, hey, can I have time off in term? And I'm like, no, Don't be ridiculous. And it ended up, my last full-time job, I kid you not, I worked 80-hour weeks. Because I was working 40 plus hours as a teacher, doing a genuinely good job, not slacking, and then doing 40 hours a week outside on the YouTube, growing the YouTube. Lunchtime was say goodbye to the students, edit videos while eating, not during lessons. I'm a good teacher. Never did any work on my YouTube channel during lessons. If nothing else, I was head of law. So obviously I understood that if I was making the videos during lessons, during the times I was being paid, I wouldn't own the copyright, the school would, and I would not be silly enough to make videos in which I didn't own the copyright. That would be a little bit dumb of me. But every break, every lunchtime working, 40-hour weeks on teaching, plus 40-hour weeks on the YouTube. I went about 2 years at one point, literally without having a day off. This took so much work. And it's worth it, ladies and gentlemen. It was absolutely worth it. I have no idea what the goal is now. For so long, well, the goal used to be make this my job, and then I made it my job, and that was lovely. And for years now, the goal has been 100,000 subs. That's been the goal. I want to hit 100k. And now I have, and I'm absolutely wonderfully delighted. Now what? I have absolutely no idea. Like, obviously, you hit 100k, and, you know, the big milestones, you've got 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million. Those are the big milestones. But a million is not a realistic goal. And that's not me trying to be humble or anything. I've seen my YouTube stats. I've got full access to all my numbers. 1 million subscribers as it stands at the moment with the way my channel is, the views I get, the amount of unique visitors, etc. Looking at all the numbers, 100,000 subs happened. A million seems like a pipe dream. Like an actual unrealistic, unachievable goal. But then again, 8 years ago, I was sitting around a table with some mates laughing about how unrealistic 100,000 was. You never know, ladies and gentlemen. It might happen. Like I said, one day I'll tell you the full story, but I literally quit 3 proper full-time jobs so that I could keep on doing this. I turned down multiple job offers, including one where I literally told them in advance, hey, I'm not taking this job unless I can have time off in term time, just so you're aware. And they were like, yeah, we'll discuss that in the meeting. Or the interview. And it got to the end of the interview and they were like, hey, have you got any questions for us? And I was like, yeah. That thing I emailed you about last week that you said we talk about. And they were like, oh, you were serious? And then they literally were going to give me the job, and then they didn't, because I wanted time off during term time, which was a waste of everybody's day, because I told them that before I turned up. I worked ridiculous hours for a long time, but you know what? Right now, today, kind of feels worth it. And seriously, huge thank you to all of you guys. I know some of you, you're subscribed, you have been for years, you leave a bunch of comments, you follow me on Twitter, all of that good stuff, @Wassy, and that's amazing. But I know there are also a bunch of you out there that just watch, whether subscribed or not, who don't leave comments, and you literally just leave it on in the background. Or you just sit and watch it, and you've never really kind of said hello or gotten in touch. Incidentally, if you are one of those people, this is a good video to just leave a comment down below and say hello. Because seriously, so much love. Because, like, obviously, by definition, this only happens if people subscribe and watch, which means, you know, without you guys, I'm literally just some, like, mid-30s dude talking about Pokemon cards overly enthusiastically into a mic, and well, that's a lot less fun, shall we say. Incidentally, I should mention this before I go, right? This all started, it was such a weird thing how all of this started. It was literally a case of, I started listening to podcasts back in like 2012. And I found a football podcast and a movie podcast and comedy podcast. And then I looked for a Pokemon TCG podcast and there literally wasn't one. It didn't exist. 6 Prizes had done a couple episodes. They were good, but then they stopped. And I mean it genuinely, like when I started, there did not exist a Pokemon TCG podcast. Now I hit over 300 episodes. I kind of dropped off doing it. I'm really sorry. I know some people miss it. I get messages regularly about it and I'm sorry. There's a big long story as to why I don't really do that anymore and I'm very sorry. It basically just boils down to time and having a family nowadays. And I'm really sorry. But the only reason I ever started a podcast was because I wanted one and it literally didn't exist. So I was living with somebody who did training videos at the time, and I was like, hey, Lindsay, give me a headset, would ya? And I just nicked a headset for an hour and went and made a podcast. Don't go and find the first episode of PTCG Radio, the podcast. It is terrible. I listened to it when I hit 300 episodes, and I'm not like I'm not doing that thing. It's terrible. I'm speaking way too fast. I mean, I am today, but I'm super excited, so I'm giving myself a pass. I sounded scared of doing this. It was all over the place, guys. It was not fun, all right? It was not fun at all. But we made it. And then that led on to the YouTube, and then I quit a bunch of jobs so I could do casting, which came from the YouTube. I mean, I'm really on the third iteration of this channel. I started off not really knowing what I was doing, and then I started mostly doing commentating of games that, I mean, I was literally traveling around the UK, going to tournaments, recording games at tournaments and commentating them on this channel. Go back. There's so many of those videos. But that's what led me into casting for Pokemon, which was clearly a big part of what's ended up happening here. Then I went into largely card reveal videos and deck list videos, and that's what I was doing for a very long time. And lately, although we still do I'm proud of this, every single new card gets covered on this channel, but nowadays, it's more of kind of a newsy channel and things are changing, and I don't know what the next step is, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. All I know is I've hit 100,000. I'm delighted. I'm rambling. And if you're still watching this video at this point, you are part of this, and I am very appreciative. Thank you very much. Don't need a big outro on this one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for being awesome. Comment, like, subscribe if you haven't already. And seriously, right, if ever there was a video to leave your first comment on this channel, it's just got to be the one, right? And be quick, because soon I'm going to realize I uploaded like a whole 10 plus minute video of my face talking to the camera, and I'm going to start feeling weird about it. I'm going to get rid of the video because I'm made for radio, right? The jokes are obvious. I'm a radio dude. This just seemed like a good video to do this. Thanks for all the support, guys. You're awesome. I don't know. Million one day? What I really want to know is when I get my plaque. And I've read the terms and conditions over on YouTube. They don't actually have to send me a plaque, but I really want one because I've been working towards it for so long. Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, PTCG Radio. Look after yourselves till next time. Bye. Thank you.